Hi everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Denver, Colorado, and you're watching All Up in Your Business. On this episode of All Up in Your Business, I'm going to give you guys a quick little update on what's going on with the EIDL, the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan program through the SBA. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check the description for links to additional information and resources and all that fun stuff too. So last week, a couple of senators introduced a new bill called the Ensuring Increased Disaster Loans for Small Businesses Act, the EIDL for Small Businesses Act. This bill would provide an additional $180 billion for the EIDL loan and advanced grant program. It would also prevent the SBA from arbitrarily capping EIDL loans below $2 million and require the SBA to give $10,000 grants or advances to all businesses or all eligible businesses regardless of their size. So why is this important? I mean, obviously it's important because a lot of small businesses and a lot of people are still really struggling right now as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and everything coming out from that, and just kind of our current situation in our economy right now. A lot of people are still struggling. So making more money available to businesses that need it is obviously important. But more importantly, this bill is really just kind of intended to uphold the original intent of the CARES Act and what the CARES Act, the intent of the CARES Act to begin with. So the CARES Act, which was enacted a while ago, it provided part of what it provided for was for these economic injury and disaster loans, which would, in the CARES Act, would be up to $2 million loan to eligible small businesses, as well as a $10,000 grant or advance that wouldn't have to be repaid. Well, not too long after the CARES Act became law, the SBA started placing these kind of arbitrary caps on the EIDL loans and the advanced grants. The EIDL loans had been capped at $150,000 per business, even though the CARES Act stated that the loan would be up to $2 million. They also capped the EIDL grant loans, the EIDL advance grants at $1,000 per employee up to $10,000, even though the CARES Act says $10,000 for each eligible business. And then wonderfully, a few weeks ago, all of the funds that had been allocated to the program, specifically to the grant program, had been used up, and there was no money left to give any additional advances or grants to these small businesses. And so that left a lot of small businesses kind of hanging if they hadn't already applied, or if they didn't get their applications in on time or something like that. The money that they may have otherwise been entitled to is just kind of gone. And so that's a big part of what this new bill is meant to fix. So specifically, this new bill, it would provide an additional $100 billion for the EIDL loans, as well as an additional $80 billion for the EIDL advance grants. So, making more money available for the loans themselves as well as the grants. This bill would also prohibit the SBA from placing these arbitrary caps on that $2 million maximum, and prohibit the SBA from limiting that $10,000 advance. So again, it's really just upholding the spirit of the CARES Act and what it was intended to do in the first place. But so again, it would prevent the SBA from having that random $150,000 cap or that $1,000 per employee cap, and stick with the cap of $2 million loan and $10,000 advance grant. The bill would also require that the advance grant be dispersed within 3 days from the applicant's request. So basically from the date of the application, and that the advance grant not be contingent upon getting the loan. So in other words, that the grant itself has to be dispersed within 3 days, and whether or not you get the grant can't depend on if you're eligible for the loan itself, which again was part of the initial intent of the CARES Act. It does say that the disbursements would be made within 3 days from the date of the request. So, again, it's kind of just in the spirit of doing what the initial intent of the CARES Act was. And then finally, this bill would place some additional reporting requirements on the SBA too. So currently, this is just proposed legislation. This isn't actually law yet. Whether it will be is still TBD. We're going to have to kind of wait and see, just like everything else currently. I don't know if you guys have caught on yet, but people behind the scenes in the government and stuff, they're kind of just flailing and making things up as they go along, kind of like everybody else is. So, a lot of this is going to be a wait and see how things turn out. If they do pass this, if this does become law, then it's still kind of going to be a waiting game in how they're actually going to administer it and how it's actually going to function and work. And so like a lot of the questions I've been getting, or people I've been talking to about this, one of the questions is, will I have to reapply if, let's say, I applied for the loan initially and got that $1,000 grant? If now I'm entitled to $10,000, will I have to reapply? Again, we don't know. We're going to have to wait. If this does pass, then we're going to have to wait and see what comes out as far as process and how we actually go about it. My guess would be yes, that you'll probably have to reapply, or there will be some resubmission process. But again, I'm just guessing. I don't know for sure, but that would be my best guess. So again, we don't know what's going to turn up from this. We don't know how this is all going to turn out, but it is a hopefully good sign that more is going to be done to help small business owners and help small businesses, because I know a lot of people out there are struggling and are losing their entire life savings and their businesses that they put all of their money and life into. And as a lawyer who's working with a lot of these small businesses, a lot of my clients who I've worked with for 5, 6, 7 years, I'm seeing them start to struggle, or seeing some of them have had to actually close their doors. It's tough for me as their lawyer to see all of this happening. And so I think this is at least a positive step in the right direction of hopefully making more available and accessible to small businesses. So that's all for this episode. Just wanted to give you all a quick update on what's going on with this, because I know a lot of people are still concerned and interested in what's going to happen with the EIDL program and this money that is supposed to be available through the SBA. Go ahead and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And again, don't forget to check the description for additional information and resources. And I'm going to link to the website where you can read the actual, more text of this proposed bill. It's still, very early on, so you can't see the actual legislation or anything. But if you want to read more about it or look into more of the details, I'll link to that down in the description below too. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.